Okay, so welcome everyone. We wanted to get together and do a working groups 101 presentation. And we had our mixer last month. A lot of people were kind of interested in joining the groups we have. Some folks were inquiring about starting their own group. So we thought this would be a really great way to introduce you to the chapter, the groups we have, and then talk about how you can start your own kind of working action group if you'd like to do that. So to start us off, next slide, Deepa. Thank you. So a little bit about our chapter. So we are the first climate reality chapter, and we are the biggest. We have definitely grown in size since our training, which is amazing. Now we have 1,500 members and 800 trained CRP leaders across all of the boroughs and most zip codes, which we're really proud of. And we just wanted to let you all know that we're a volunteer organization. So we generously give of our time and love to get together, but we are volunteers. Our vision, we're a socially just, environmentally responsible, and integrate and sorry, let me start again with that. Sorry, can someone mute someone make their phone? Thank you. So our vision is to be a socially just, environmentally responsible, innovative, and green New York City. And we are well on our way there. Our specific mission as a chapter is to educate and mobilize all New Yorkers to take urgent climate action across every level of society. And then for our strategy, we have three kind of main focuses that we're always working on. First is to connect. So we want to bring members together in a diverse community pursuing solutions to the climate crisis. Next, we always want to inspire. So we want to inspire our members to act and lead the change. And then the last one is act. So we want to provide opportunities for our members to take action to achieve our common goal. Next slide, Deepa. So something that's really important for us is operating on the Hermes principles. So these principles kind of lead and guide the way we organize. So the first principle that we follow is to be inclusive. The second is we have an emphasis on bottom-up organizing. So even though we're on the leadership team and Paul and I are co-chairs, we really want to hear what our membership thinks, and we really want to do things that our membership are passionate about and love. The third is to let people speak for themselves. So, if you have questions, if there are things you would like to see more of, we always want to hear from you. The next is to work together in solidarity. The next after that is to build just relationships. And then the last is a commitment to self-transformation. And then next slide, Deepa. So for just a moment, I'm going to pass it off to Minnie. Minnie is our newest leadership team member, and we're super happy to have her. You've probably already met her at some of our chapter meetings, but she has some exciting news to share. So I'll pass it to you, Minnie.
Cool. Hi, everybody. Very nice to meet you virtually. So we are going to have, oh, okay, great. July 27th, perfect. So we're going to organize our in-person summer picnic in July. So that will be Saturday. So that'll be the last Saturday of July. It'll be from 4 to 7 o'clock at Central Park. And please come. And also please bring your friends and families because we want them to join our climate reality chapter. And I think that's it. And it will be a wonderful opportunity for us to meet in person because this is how we'll become closer, and then how we encourage each other to continue to be part of the movement and help each other with our climate goals. So there.
Thanks so much, Minnie. I appreciate that and looking forward to the picnic. So next, how to start an action group. So we've had different action groups since the time I've joined the chapter, and I think throughout the entire chapter's history. We have two different kinds of groups that we've seen pop up over the last few years. One is a kind of evergreen group that lasts for usually a year or more. And then the second is a short-term group. So the evergreen group, we would define that as a group that meets and takes action for a year or longer, like I said. And usually it ladders up to a larger climate reality initiative. This group has formal monthly meetings. If you've already joined our electrification and advocacy groups, you will know that there is structure around these groups. And the leaders of the group keep the website calendar updated for prospective members. So you can always go to our website and see when the next meeting is and be in touch with the leaders so that they can add you. They usually host one chapter meeting a year, which is really exciting to kind of talk about their efforts, to kind of get people activated, perhaps bring in speakers. So that's usually one of our most popular and exciting chapter meetings. And then this person or these people who are in this group will also join our monthly leadership team meetings. And really they do that not only for support, but also to kind of update us on their progress. If there's anything they need the leadership to help them do, any kind of promotion, getting the word out, they can, get our help on that. And so, yeah, the electrification and advocacy groups are kind of examples of those evergreen groups. And, there will be more in the future as we go on. And then the second group is a short-term group. This is defined as a group that's more temporary. Usually this group will meet for about 3 to 9 months. It's usually tied to a forthcoming milestone, whether that's, Climate Week, Fashion Week, Black History Month, another Heritage Month. These meetings are at the discretion of, whoever is leading the group based on what the group's goals are. And like the Evergreen group, we do think it's really helpful if this group keeps the website calendar updated with their meetings as well, just because you always want to bring more people in the fold and kind of gauge people's interests. Like the Evergreen group, this group will also kind of join our monthly leadership team meetings to, get support from us, to get encouragement, to give us updates. And then past examples of some short-term groups that we had an environmental justice group, we had a food committee, and we also had a corporate group. So these kind of come and go. And, whether you want to start something that's more evergreen or more short-term, we kind of welcome them all. So I'm going to pass it to Paul now, who can talk more about the advocacy group and what they do.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Faith. Yeah, so the advocacy team is one of our working groups, and it's probably one of the longest running ones. We started in 2020, basically to take advantage of the opportunity, with the new administration and the new federal kind of situation. We took the opportunity to try to get climate legislation passed. And so our first focus was on the Build Back Better Act, which was later called the Inflation Reduction Act. And so we were very involved in that. We met all of our New York City House representatives, all 13 of them, and and both of the senators, some of them several times. And I recall one occasion when our dear Chuck Schumer called in from his car to give us an update on the status of things. So, thanks to some of the contacts that we have through the state coalition and the headquarters, we were able to get a lot of access. So that was a beginning. And then in 2022, we started focusing on the state level. And we started lobbying for such things as the All Electric Building Act and the Climate Superfund, which recently passed. And these were, we not only lobbied, but we also wrote letters, had canned action parties, and did other things. So, and we'll get into a little bit more of what we do in a minute. And there's also a lot left to do, though, at the state level. So, as many of you know, the New York Heat Act wasn't passed, and another legislation that we were really fighting for this year didn't pass. And so we were very disappointed in that, but we're also very motivated to help get all of those bills passed next year. And then with the end of the state legislative session a few weeks ago, we turned our focus to the city. And the city council, it currently has some legislation in front of it, which is very bad, that would drive basically a Mack truck through local law 97. So we're actively lobbying against that legislation. And actually just today, Deepa, or was that yesterday? Deepa and Jen and I yesterday met with my council member to lobby against this bill. So that's our current focus at the moment. And we also work closely with partners. So like when we talk about lobbying, we oftentimes will go to Albany with our partner groups such as Renewable Heat Now, New York Renews, CRETF, Beyond Plastics, Rewiring America, and we also work with Climate Action Now. So with that, I just wanted to, before I go on any further, I want to introduce someone who many of you know from the April training, and this is the godfather of our Climate Reality Project, New York State Coalition. He is the legislative director, Tim Guinea. And when he is not lobbying, he's actually writing the laws. He's got some experience writing laws that have been passed. When he's not doing that, he's planting pawpaws in his garden or fighting fires in the Catskills. So I just want to introduce our dear friend, Tim, and he has a few words for us.
You're on mute, Tim.
Sorry. How long have we been doing this and still don't know how to do it? So just as a sort of quick backup, so the New York State Coalition was formed in 2017. It was formed by me, Harriet Sugarman, who ran the New York City chapter, and Kate Rogers out in Long Island. And very quickly, one of the things we wound up doing was getting into advocacy and working really hard on the CLCPA. And I'll mention before anybody gets outraged, Climate Reality was not singularly responsible for the passage of the CLCPA. And no, it's a fantastic ecosystem of environmental groups that work on all kinds of legislation. There's nothing that Climate Reality singularly gets passed any more than the Sierra Club or New York Renews or any group gets passed on their own. However, we began working very, very well. And from sort of early days when you would go to Albany and never see anybody with a green little circle on their clothes, now I will see people in Albany kind of once a week who have that kind of thing going on. And we've seen year on year a lot of, this is 2020, these were a bunch of the things that happened that we did and worked on, and not all of them became laws, but we had great movement. And we will work on things from local laws all the way up to federal things. As was mentioned, this was a terrible year in terms of environmental legislation in New York. There's a bunch of reasons for that. The election being one of them, congestion pricing, which was, the governor's reversal there kind of blew up the legislative session. However, I do just quickly want to mention 6 bills that New York Climate Reality worked on and helped get passed. One is a Wildlife Crossings Act. We take a wide view, recognizing that intact ecosystem services increase the probability of climate resilience. So we will work on big environmental things. that aren't necessarily the very first thing that you think of in terms of climate, but the coalition wants to uplift what really matters to the membership. So the Wildlife Crossings Act identifies places where bridges can be built for wildlife to create safe corridors for wildlife that don't impede traffic. It will allow application for federal grants. There's a food scraps recycling and donation bill that got passed. Green roof tax abatement was set to run out this year, and I think is now permanent, and that's only for New York City. There's a dedicated e-parking bill that passed. There's a grid modernization bill that was a Dee Barrett Parker bill, which will set up a commission to study how to effectively modernize the grid. I think that's super important. CO2 fracking ban, of course. And the big one that passed at the end of the year that we don't really know whether is going to make it or not is the Climate Change Superfund Act. If I'm also the president of Climate Action Now, if anybody wants to send a quick email to the governor, you can use this QR code to do that. I'll just mention, A, we have an enormous amount of fun. B, I think we're incredibly effective. C, if this is of interest to you, but you don't know how to do things, I think people are very happy to teach you how to lobby or teach you how to write a memorandum of support or a letter to the editor. So we need people to do all kinds of things. There's all kinds of jobs, from social media posting to actual lobbying to writing memorandums, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're there for you and happy to help out. And I will pass it back. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Tim. I don't know what's going on with that QR code. I couldn't get it up on my phone. I don't know if others got it up. I hope they did. But so.
Oh, hey, Paul, can I mention just quickly one last thing about Climate Action Now? We would love to have a dedicated person to put up actions relative to New York City, just to New York City. And if that is of interest to somebody, you can get in touch with me through Paul, and I can teach you how to do that.
Okay, great. And I am just putting my email in the chat if anyone is interested in that. Okay, so yeah, so now we're going to have a little bit of fun. Not that Tim wasn't fun. Tim's always a lot of fun, but we're going to have a little bit of fun. So if everyone could pull out your phones, and we're going to find out who your legislator is. And we're going to ask you to scan that QR code. I hope it works. I'm going to check it out myself right now. Yes, it's working. So if you can then put in your street address into that QR code, and you'll find out who your, you can put, yeah, it'll tell you who your New York City, New York State, and US representatives are. So if you could then do that and put in the chat who your representatives are for New York City and New York State, that would be great. And so we're going to give everyone a few seconds to, well, a minute or two to get to do that. So here we go. I'm going to get us started. So I got my council member is Carlina Rivera, and then we've got Assembly is Deborah Glick. She's the head of the NCON committee in the Assembly. And my senator is Mr. Brian Kavanaugh. I guess you don't really need the family names, the first names. Let's see, who else do we got here? Let's see who we got. Clyde Vanel. Okay, great. Yusef Salam. We're trying to get a meeting with him, actually. Faith is working on that. Senator Conroy. There we go. That's great, Chauncey, that you know everyone. Okay, I'm going to paste the link in the chat. Oh my. HTTPS mygov NYC. This is a little homegrown. We're having a homegrown meeting today. There we go. Okay, super. Well, why don't we keep those coming in? Thank you everyone who's put their folks in. Oh, I see Truly is the same council member and Harvey Epstein. So if you have a dog, Truly, we go to the same dog park.
I don't, but that's
Okay.
good to know.
Okay, great. So that's great. That was a lot of fun. And then, so Deepa, can you take us to the next page? This is my second to last page. I just want to conclude that we basically are looking for an incoming class of advocacy activists. We have a group. Many of you are on the call. So Jen and was on a call with us, with Deepa and myself yesterday. Paola was on a call with us recently. Kevin Davis just got a meeting recently, and there's many others. So it's great. And so we need a new incoming class, because some people kind of retire from our community every once in a while. So we need some new members. And you can really do pretty much anything, right? So as Tim said, there's letters to the editors and all these other kinds of activities. We kind of listed 4 activities that are pretty typical. And we call the first group the can-doers. And those are the ones who use the Can app on their phones. And join these great action parties where we'll actually we'll advocate for a specific piece of legislation, and we may get over 1,500 to 2,000 letters sent out in one of those 1-hour sessions. So they're very effective. Another type of group is called the on-call, and these are people who don't necessarily want to lobby permanently, but if we get a meeting with their representative, or if they can help us get a meeting with their representative, then they can attend that meeting as a constituent. And this is a really important group of folks that we call on them quite frequently. So that's at a second level. Another one is an organizer, someone who kind of works, actively works to get the group members to set our priorities, to coordinate activities and so on. And then there's leaders like Deepa and myself and Philip Khan, who help run the advocacy team. So we're looking for people who will do any of those things. And if you are interested, it would be great if you could just drop at it, what level of interest you would be interested in, and we will get in touch with you. We'll save this chat and get in touch. So I think that is it. And I'm just going to put on mute whoever is giving us feedback. Okay, thank you. I think you did it yourself. Great. So yeah, so that's it. And if you have any questions about this, please drop them in the chat as well, and we'll get to them at the end of this meeting. So I'm going to hand it over now to Deepa. Oh, before we hand it over to Deepa, there is a really important meeting. Our July chapter meeting will be on the 18th. It's from 6:30 to 8:30. It's in person, and it's going to be at the Ethical Culture Society on West 64th Street, so right on the Central Park West. And we're inviting the governor, Tish James, the Attorney General, has already confirmed, and we have inviting the mayor as well, and other elected officials. So we're going to be able to hear what they're planning to do in terms of climate advocacy and what they've done, and we have a chance to ask them questions. So we're organizing this with some of our our friends and colleagues in the community. I really encourage you to join that forum. It'll be great. There's usually over 500 people there, so it'll be a great chance to really get excited and meet some other folks. So you have to register using the link, which I'll throw into the chat in just a second. Okay, thank you. And Deepa.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, everyone. I'm Deepa Prasad. I'm a member of leadership team, and I'm the co-lead of the Electrify NYC group. And we help New Yorkers to electrify their homes and transport and make their electricity supply renewable. So before I talk about what we do in our working group, I just want to talk for a second about the largest sources of New York's emissions. So as you can see from the graphic on the left from the Department of Environmental Conservation, together, buildings, transportation, and electricity generation account for 73% of New York's greenhouse gas emissions. So by reducing emissions in these areas, we can make great progress on meeting our climate goals and improving the health and comfort of our homes and our neighborhoods. And the great news is that we have generous incentives to address these largest sources of emissions. And in New York, we're really fortunate. We have generous incentives not only from the federal government through the Inflation Reduction Act, but we also have New York State incentives and utility incentives. And this is for things like weatherizing your home, electrifying your home heating and cooling, your water heating, your clothes drying, your stove, installing solar panels, maybe getting an electric vehicle. And these incentives can save homeowners significant amounts of money when they replace aging fossil fuel powered appliances with electric ones. So, even fossil fuel appliances have a finite life and they need to be replaced eventually. So when that time comes, people can take advantage of these incentives to get the more efficient, cleaner, healthier electric versions. And so now, just for fun, I have a couple of questions about some of these incentives. So I'm going to launch a poll if I can figure out how to do it. Hang on a second, bear with me. All right, I don't see them here. Oh, wait, I found them. Never mind. Okay, sorry about that. So here's the first question. So a 50-gallon heat pump water heater is listed at a local home improvement store for $1,700. How much could government incentives reduce this cost for a low-income household? And this is very new. So these are federal rebates that are administered through New York State, and these were just announced recently. And they're pretty great incentives, and we in our electrification group are going to be working to get the word out on these incentives. So I'll wait a couple more seconds to get a few more answers. So we've got 63% participating. Anybody else? Okay. So the correct answer is 100%. So for those considered low income, their heat pump water heater at this price would be covered 100%. They could get a free heat pump water heater. So it's really an exciting incentive. All right, I've got another one. Oops. You can see I'm not super experienced with these polls. Okay, here's the next one. So what is the average payback period for rooftop solar in New York? And that is the number of years it takes for you to break even on the cost of your solar installation.
So Deepa, I've noticed that there's a logic error in your question, because something could be both under 12 years and under 9 years.
Oh, right.
So I guess you mean between 12 and 9 years, right?
Right, right, exactly. Thank you, Paul.
Welcome.
Thank you for clarifying. All right, so we've got 72%, 75% answering. Okay. All right. The correct answer is under 9 years. What's interesting about this also is that this does not take into account net metering. So if you have net metering, which in New York City, I think everyone does with Con Edison, what that means is when your solar panels are generating more energy than you can use, like in the summer months, you get credits that you can apply to your electric bill in the less sunny months in the winter. So if you take that into account, it's even less than under 9 years. So it's way under 9 years. All right. Thank you for bearing with me with the polls. Okay, moving on. So what do we do in our electrification working group? We aim to educate community members, about the generous incentives available to electrify by giving presentations, both live and virtual, by tabling at community events. And we're trying to develop resources to continue to get the word out in different ways. So we have a set of videos based on the slide presentation that we have, broken up into chapters that Paul developed, and they're on our website and on our YouTube channel. We also have begun holding weekly virtual office hours where people can drop in with questions about electrification, whether it's for an individual home or household or a multifamily building. And we're using materials that were developed by a New York State Coalition working group. So last year, there was a working group comprised of members from all New York chapters, and we developed resources with information on the benefits of electrification, some guidance on how to go about the whole process, and a summary of the available incentives. So it includes a slide presentation, some tabling materials, and these materials are updated to reflect any changes in the incentives and any feedback we receive to help improve them. So we really try to keep them up to date. And Minnie is going to post links in the chat to these materials if you haven't had a chance to take a look at them. So finally, we encourage you to join our team. You don't have to present to be a part of our team. There are many different ways to be involved. You can connect our group with potential audiences for presentations and tabling. You can offer your input at our meetings regarding venues, tools, and the best way to reach our audiences. You can help people sign up for community solar. You can talk to community members at tabling events, or you can give part or all of one of our presentations or work your way up to that point. And we're a fun group. We have bi-weekly virtual meetings. It's pretty casual and flexible. So if you can't make every single meeting, that's totally fine. Many of our group members can't make all our meetings, but we stay in touch via email and otherwise to keep each other apprised. So it's very kind of casual and flexible. So if you are interested, you can email me. My email address is on the screen, and I think Minnie will be dropping it into the chat. And I'll add you to the calendar invite so you can come and check it out and see if you like it. And there's more information on our group's activities on our webpage, which Minnie will also be dropping the link to that in the chat. And I have one more quick poll. Can everyone see that? I don't know if it actually showed up. Do you see the poll on the screen? No?
No, I can't see it, Deepa.
All right. Clearly, I need more practice doing these things. Okay, we'll forget about that one. But just by chiming into the chat, if you are interested in joining the group, or potentially maybe interested in joining the group, maybe say that in the chat just to get an idea of if anyone is interested in joining, maybe. And so that's it for me. I'm going to pass it back to Faith.
Thanks so much, Deepa. Don't feel bad about the polls because honestly, I don't think we've ever done any of that caliber. So doing anything for the first time is not easy. So I thought they were really cool. So thank you for that. So if you want to start an action group, I know there are a lot of questions in the chat. Here are just some simple steps to get you started. So the first thing you should do is get in touch with a member of the leadership team, whether that's myself, whether that's Paul, Deepa, Minnie also. who is here. So get in touch with us. And even if you just need to kind of talk through your ideas and need some encouragement and support, we're here to help you. Next would definitely be to kind of figure out your mission and goals of your group. Some questions you can ask yourself. What do you want to achieve and by when? And what can group members gain from being a part of your group? Then you should definitely figure out how often you need to meet to achieve your group goals, whether that's bi-weekly, like Paul and Deepa are doing, whether that's once a month, whether that's once a week. When we were leaving to the New York City meeting, we're weekly. So figure out what works best for you based on your goals. And then once you kind of figure that all out, share your mission, your goals, and your meeting cadence with the leadership team, so that we can update the website, so that we can promote it in our newsletter, so that we can support you and get the word out. So, people who are interested can join. And then we did want to mention that we are for sure looking for a volunteer leader. We are always thinking of kind of ways to give back and different things to do in the city. So we would love someone who's interested in kind of organizing those opportunities for us. So if you're interested, please let us know in the chat, or feel free to individually email us, and we will get back to you. And I think that is it. So I know there are lots of questions in the chat. Not sure if there's anything based on what you've seen, Paul, you wanted to mention to the group.
I'll just start with the last. I have to apologize because all the questions there's a lot of chat because we asked a lot of we had a lot of fun, a lot of games during this that requested you to involve the chat. So some of the questions might have gotten lost. Well, I think what would be great is people just, if you have a question, can raise your hand, and then we can just go through those questions. But the one I did see, which is the last one there, was about renters. And there is we do have a guide for renters in the presentation. It's about 5 pages. I have to tell you that there are less options for renters because renters, they don't own the building, and so they can't change, like, let's say, the certain things about the building. But there is a lot that they can do within their apartments. And there are actually a lot of programs that, like Empower Plus, which is a really, really powerful program, which is worth tens of thousands of dollars for low-income individuals, that can be used for renters, but it requires landlord's permission. So there's all kinds of information we have in the presentation, and that is one of the focuses that we definitely would like to have, which is reaching out to renters. We know that in New York City, that's basically the bulk of city residents. So I hope that answered that question. And are there other questions? If you just raise your hand, that would be great, or just speak out. I saw a question about will we send out slides? We'll send out the slides and the presentation to everyone who attended afterwards. And all of our presentations, by the way, are on our YouTube channel if you ever want to access those. But we'll send it to all of you. Hi, Nina.
Hi, Paul. I wanted to know whether I wanted to tell you all that in Columbia, South Carolina, where I did a lot of my where I was the chair of the Climate Reality Project chapter for several years until I moved here, or a little before I moved here in December this past year to Brooklyn. They had a group of people in the chapter who were partnering with other groups as well outside of the chapter. We're working with developing relationships with landlords to be able to get their willingness to help out in some ways that otherwise the tenants would not be able to do. And I could possibly put you in touch with someone from that group if that would be helpful.
It certainly would. We're always looking for, ways to get, the electrification. Maybe Deepa I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to let Deepa answer this question.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to respond to the chat. So I
Okay.
missed the question.
Okay. Yeah, but so Nina offered to help us get in contact with folks who are working with landlords to help the tenants get, some of these electrification and installation and all those types of activities. So yes, any methodologies that you have that you could share with us would be great. And we have our meetings on Sunday, every second Sunday of the month. And if you look on the in the evening, if you look on the website, which Minnie put in the chat, you can see the time, and actually, yeah, you can see the time. Or if you said you're interested, what's going to happen is we will copy your name and get your email, and we'll send you an invitation to those meetings.
Are those meetings virtual?
Yes, they are.
Oh, then I'm definitely interested.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Nina. We need people out there, fighting the battle with us. Okay. Do we have any more questions? I see a question in the chat. I see a lot of questions in the chat. Deepa, you're answering all those, yeah?
I was trying to answer some of them. I think I may have missed some of the earlier ones, but if anyone still has questions, please feel free to raise your hand and just ask it out loud.
Yeah.
And apologies if we missed it from the chat.
I used to be able to save chats, and I seem no longer to be able to do that successfully. And I'm wondering if the chat could also be sent out.
Yeah. I've never said, okay, I just saved the chat. Yes, so we can save the chat as well.
I know how to save it. I just don't know how to find it after I save it.
Okay.
It's like gone, it disappears.
Oh, that naughty chat. Yeah,
I know.
We'll find it, hopefully. Okay, well, great. So yeah, so this is great. I think we've got, I don't hear any more questions. So are we, and I really would like to say that I see a lot of people saying that they're interested in joining us. So this is great. We really appreciate that. And for those of you who have indicated that you're interested, we're going to save the chat. We'll reach out to you and invite you to our next meetings. For the Electrify NYC group, it's every second Sunday, starting next Sunday at 6 p.m., if I'm not mistaken. And for the advocacy group, we're gonna, once we get everyone's replies from the chat, we'll set up a when to meet poll and set up a meeting time. Jay, I see you have a question.
Yeah, my question was, because I see that you say in regards to renters, it's more landlord driven, which is understandable since they own the building. But seeing as New York City has such a huge population that are renters via NYCHA, and then if you go from NYCHA, then you have also the New York City Apartment Association. Do we have partnerships with either one of those, hopefully both, but either one of those, in order to start really looking at what those incentives are and how landlords can access those incentives that would then pass off savings to their tenants? Because this is New York. It's a city of apartments. And there's so many who are, if they're not low income, they're probably borderline low income. And it's almost, ludicrous that those people who really make up the majority of this city aren't able to take advantage of these cost savings, especially after experiencing the heat wave we had last week. And I doubt I doubt many people have, you know, central air. When I moved to New York, I didn't even know that people lived without central air. I had never experienced that in my life. I was like, ew, what is this? So I know if not having central air sounds medieval to me, I can only imagine, you know, people who had to live with this and live through a heat wave and not have the comfort of central air, which is so normal outside of New York City, are going through.
Yeah. So we're looking, you know, we have two, like we actually approach this question from two different ways. One is through the electrification team. There's a, you know, a renter section where we're trying to reach out. And in the electrification team, we just discussed the last meeting, ways of getting to those communities. And we're going to start trying to do that. So where, you know, one of the ideas that we had was to go to the community boards and start with one, and another was to go to a library and start that way. So that's one way, two ways that we've talked about with reaching out to the renters, And so I would encourage anyone who's interested in that work to join us, and especially, you know, these ideas are very helpful. The other thing is for large buildings, or any building that's over 25,000 square feet, which is, you know, the vast majority of buildings, you know, unless it's a brownstone, that's, you know, that's what you're talking about. So those 25,000 square feet and greater are subject to local law 97. And local law 97 require, you know, it requires a lot of actions to get the, you know, electrify the buildings, make them more comfortable, and make them safer, make them pollute less. And so the other way that we're trying to approach this is to defend local law 97 from attempts to water it down. And we're doing that through the advocacy team. And like I mentioned earlier today, we had 2 meetings over the past past week on that topic. So that's how we're trying to try to like make sure that people who live in those buildings, you know, get the benefits of electrification. So those are the 2 ways that we're going about that now, and and you know, anyone who has ideas and wants to help activate in other ways, you know, we're more than excited to do that. I don't know, Deepa, if you had any other thoughts on the question of renters.
No, I think you covered it pretty well, Paul. I think we're still trying to explore ways of helping renters, and like you said, one of them is by protecting local law 97.
Yeah, like I see in the chat from Julie that her board is fighting local law 97, and it's really unfortunate because a lot of those, this is, you know, it's not that common, but it's common. There's so much money out there. There's so many incentives out there that oftentimes that these changes, when planned properly, when the, you know, the fossil fuel alternative ends its life, that this is the cheaper alternative, and it's cheaper to run afterwards. There's financing. There's a, you know, a bucket load of financing opportunities, whether it's PACE or through the NYC EEC and other organizations. You know, there's financing, there's incentives, there's technical expertise. So people who are fighting this, you know, probably haven't looked into all of that, and they're doing a disservice to people who live in their buildings. So we encourage people who have co-op boards like that to, you know, ask them the tough questions, and to you know, we can help arm them with the right questions to ask, and to try to join the board if they feel so inclined. Yeah, that's not uncommon, Julie. It's a common problem, and you know, we're trying to help people deal with that question.
So we've talked a lot about advocacy and electrification, and I was just wondering if anyone is maybe thinking about starting another group, since Faith talked about what our groups look like and the possibility of starting new groups within the chapter. So are you interested in starting a new group? And if so, around what topic? Feel free to post it in the chat, or raise your hand.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Let me see.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of maybe starting a group around like stewardship and just like more little civic actions. I do a lot with the Billion Oyster Project and different organizations. So just kind of, I didn't know if to just keep passing on opportunities or to formalize it with you guys. So that was something that I work on the side of climate reality, but I may think to formalize it and offer it as something, you know, like this cleanup or just different actions, but like tangible throughout the boroughs kind of stewardship actions. So it's like grassroots. We already have policy level. So that's something I've been considering.
I think that sounds amazing. That sounds a lot like what we would love in terms of like volunteerism. So we'd love to kind of talk more with you and connect and see what you're interested in, because that's definitely something we've been needing. So thank you.
Great.
Yeah, we actually had the it's great, Paula, and I just wanted to add that we have done some things in the past, like a river sweeps as a team, you know, as a group, and also a long time ago we went to the Billion Oyster Project, and I'm not sure we actually did that day of, you know, like where you help them out, but that's like, I would just reiterate what Faith said. That'd be great if you could kind of like just point out all these opportunities, become a focal point for creating these actions, because it's so rewarding. You know, like sometimes you're like fighting and lobbying and writing letters and doing all this stuff, and you feel like, okay, I'm not, you know, where's the actual results of what I'm doing? And those
short term versus long term, or immediate versus postponed gratification. And
right, they really provide that boost of energy to see the immediate gratification of results.
I think it would be great to, I go to a congregation that's in Brooklyn Heights. I don't know how much climate reality activity there is in Brooklyn, and I'm too new to know. Maybe Richard knows more about that. He said he's in Brooklyn. But I don't know if that borough gets a lot of climate reality project attention. And it would be interesting to, there's a green team at that congregation, and they're working on different kinds of things related to the environment and climate. And I think it would be kind of great if I could get permission from them to do a presentation of some sort at the congregational level.
We've presented the Electrify NYC presentations at several churches, and that's been really, and we actually have plans to present to other ones. So if that's kind of what you were thinking about, or if you want to present something to your congregation about CR Climate Reality Project's activities, that would also be great. We could help with that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, climate reality activities, or one of the particular focus on electrifying or other things. You know, whatever would seem. I didn't go to the New York training. I've been to 3 other trainings, but I was not accepted as a mentor, and I didn't apply soon enough to be a regular attendee, but my daughter did. She went as an attendee and is now a climate reality leader in this chapter too, though I don't know whether she'll have the time with her very extensive work hours to do much, but I think that if I can just, I have some skills, but I'd have to kind of brush up a little bit.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
No, I just see that Akron has his hand up.
Hi, everybody. How are you? First time in the meeting, so I'm kind of like listening more than talking. But I back in 1990 through 94, I was part of the Memorial High School environmental club, and we used to go down to the river by Port Imperial, where there was nothing there, and it was just, you know, just rubble, and we used to go and clean the Hudson River. And it was something that was very fulfilling and really changed my life. You know, when and you know, the way I think about these things, you know, nowadays. So I guess, you know, I'm bringing it up on a personal note to see if anybody has ever thought about reaching out to high schools and these environmental clubs. I think it would be very valuable, you know, involving them in young age. And they're usually very proactive, and you know, they're students, and I think it will be a golden opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Akron. And we've actually done some lobbying with some high school students, which has been a lot of fun. And it would be great to involve them in our activities in other ways too. So I think that's a great idea. Get some young energy into our chapter.
Yeah.
And they also have a the Climate Reality has a group dedicated to schools. It's a new movement. I can't remember the name of it right now, but do you remember?
I think it's just called the Green Schools Campaign.
Green Schools Campaign, right? So maybe if you want, Akron, we can reach out to you with that. I will reach out to you with links to that campaign, and maybe that's something that would interest you. They're running that. So some campaigns actually are done at the headquarters level, and they, you know, work directly with Climate Reality leaders. So we'll send that information over to you.
Also, if I may add, I don't know if you've heard of the Climate and Reality Education Task Force, Akron. They have a lot of linkages with high schools, middle schools, and like all kind of levels. But they also have a youth steering committee that is also dedicated to climate education. And they constantly post opportunities, youth action climate summits. So they're a good source to check out if you'd like. Thank you.
And actually that group is the link to that group is on our webpage. We because we coordinate with them. They're one of our partners. It's CRETF.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Oh, thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
And the first founder, the founder of the New York City chapter, Harriet Sugarman, is very involved in that group, along with Fan. I think you all know her. Some of you may know her as well. Okay, we're running down to it's now 7:30, but if anyone wants to stay on, that's great, and we can continue answering questions and talking. Otherwise, we will. We probably should finish up now, and we're going to get back to everyone who's written in the chat some level of interest about something. So I'm going to save the chat, and hopefully I won't lose it. And we'll get back to everybody. I definitely won't lose it, and we'll get back to everybody. And we really appreciate all the energy that came out tonight. And if you have other questions and you want to start a group, or you're just maybe a little too shy to talk about it tonight, just give us email us, write us, and we'll help you out. So thank you so much, everybody.